Podcast 86. All righty then. Looky here, looky here. We got another edition of the Stoned Roadie Show with my lovely co-host, Miss Kathy GODSEY, and she's got a special guest that I knew from a long time ago, Barbara, who I used to know that Alan and Gary used to call Beulah. So why don't you take it away and from here, Kathy GODSEY?
All right, I was going to say, looky here, look who I have, but you already introduced her. But so this is Barbara Bulow Carter, and thanks to Facebook for allowing me to find out who Barbara was. As I mentioned in podcast 28 and 29, when I first came on the podcast, I told the whole story about how I was obsessed with Alan Collins, went to Florida and Jacksonville in 1980, met up with Gene Odom. He took me to Alan's house. I walked in, and this tall, beautiful blonde woman was there just hanging out with them. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous of this woman. And you just hung out like you guys were just like you're part of the family. So I stayed there for a short visit, and I don't recall exactly what happened. There she is. But I was able to find Barbara. And the way I found her was I posted this photograph that I took at Alan's house that day in 1980. I posted on Facebook and I said something like, does anybody know who the blonde woman is? And someone wrote and said, that's my mom. So I was able to friend her. And then we had a couple of phone calls a while ago, right? We talked on the phone once or twice a couple of years ago, and you told me some cool stories. And in the back of my mind, I always thought, boy, I'd love to get in touch with you again and get you on the podcast. There's a real interest in Alan. I mean, everybody loves all the band members, but there's something about Alan that we all want to know about. We just can't get enough information about Alan. And you were there, Barbara, and that's your son that Alan is holding in his arms. That's little Jesse, right?
Right.
So welcome to the Stone Roadie Show. And
Well, thank you.
I'm
It's
so
good to be
happy.
here.
So as I located Barbara through Facebook, and I've just talked to her a couple of times, and I said, where did you come from? Where are you? How did you get to know Alan Collins? How lucky are
Yeah, well, I'm
you?
from New York, and I had graduated high school and moved down to the Virgin Islands. And I met my future husband down there, and he was from Florida. And he met Alan. And I was up in New York visiting my family. And he said, how would you like to meet Lynyrd Skynyrd? And I really wasn't too familiar because I'm from New York, you know what I mean? And so when I came back home, I met them all. And Alan and I just, he clicked. There was something about he just was great. I met him and Gary at the same time and their wives, and we all became good friends. And we did a lot of things together, went to restaurants together, scuba dived together. So we had a lot of fun.
So let me
Yeah.
ask you, when did you meet Alan? Do you remember the year?
It was after the plane crash.
Okay.
It was, do you remember when that picture was taken? Because I don't.
I
What
sure
year?
do. Of course I do.
Okay,
It
yeah,
was it was May 28th, 1980.
1980.
Yeah.
Well, I had met him probably, they were still, injured. So it was, probably 6, 7 months after the crash,
Oh, okay.
I would say. Yeah, about that. Because he
Okay.
was still having trouble with his arm, where his arm got injured really bad. He had grafts on his arm, and Gary was injured pretty bad. I met them at the same time, the same day, actually.
And where exactly did you meet them? At Alan's house?
Yeah, at his house, we went out there because my husband already knew him, and
Okay.
I met him, for the first time out there. And I met him and his wife, Kathy, who became a really good friend of mine, Gary's first wife, Martha. Um, Craig, you remember Martha,
Oh,
right?
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Gary, yeah, they were really sweet people. And, just started hanging out together a lot, for years, actually. And they'd go out on the road and the wives would all hang out together. I think my husband went out with them one time, maybe, in later years. But, I hung out with Kathy quite a bit. And, when they boys came home, we had a good time.
So when
Alan
you
always,
first, I'm sorry, they have.
Alan always had some crazy idea to do something. Let's go scuba diving. Let's go learn how to do that. That was something else, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
So,
tell me about the story. So your husband said you want to go learn how to go scuba diving at Alan's house, or what was that all about?
yeah, well, in his pool, well, he had friends. Alan had friends. Russell and Berta were their names, and they were instructors. And so we all got certified, but we had to do all this stuff in the pool to get certified in his pool, where they throw all the equipment down in the bottom of the pool, and you had to dive in, untangle it, get it on, which was a lot. You had to put on a weight belt, a BC jacket, the regular, the mask. It was crazy. And, we had to do that. Then we had to take a written test. Then we had to take dive tests, like in a cave. We had to do a cave dive, which was nuts. He kicked my mask off, actually. I almost drowned. Alan did when we were down there. Actually, you go with buddies, right? And the instructor's wife was my buddy, and she got vertigo, which you get dizzy and you don't know going down is going up. So she was doing the sign for going up, but she was going down. And so I had to grab her. And right then, Alan kicked my mask off by accident. And it was crazy because when you go up, you hit the roof of the cave. You have to find your way out. So it was nuts. And that happened in the cave. And then we went offshore dive in Daytona and we all got stung by man of war. So, just crazy stuff like that.
But it was fun, right? It was a fun
Oh, yeah,
experience.
it was a lot of fun. It was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Now, Craig, didn't you say you think you went scuba diving at one time with Barbara? Do you recall that? Or Barbara, you guys went scuba diving
I
together at
think
one
I
point?
think one time didn't we go down to Crystal Springs and go dive?
Yeah, and then the Blue Grotto also. Crystal Springs, wasn't that where you had to walk a long way? You had to walk through the
Just
woods or
a,
something.
it was just the water is really
Yeah, I
blue and
remember dragging that equipment. It was so heavy. I only weighed like 113 pounds, and that stuff was heavy. I remember dragging it.
Mhm.
It was a lot of fun. It was. But
So
then
what
we
other?
all kind of
Yeah.
you kind of get scared doing some of that stuff when you're underwater. I think Gary did some kind of dive where he saw a shark and he came up and he threw up, and I don't think he ever dove again after that.
oh, I think when that guy died in that cave, I think that's what
Yeah, that cave, that was a couple weeks before we did that
yeah,
dive.
they
That
pulled
was
that guy out of that cave and both of them decided they didn't want to go diving anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was the cave my mask got kicked off. It was scary down there. It really was. But
So you said that you practiced in his pool. Is that what you said, where it all started?
yeah, we did in his pool. We had to do all these crazy entry dives and stuff like that. And then when we took the written test, the guys took it first and they went into Alan's den, and us girls took it at the kitchen table and they had the answer sheet. We kept going, number 5. And Alan would go, it's 3. And so we all like passed the test, so to speak, so.
So when you first met Alan and Gary, were you just, did you realize how popular they were, that these were Lynyrd Skynyrd guys, or were you
Not,
nervous about that?
not really. I mean, You know, I knew bands, like I used to go to the Fillmore East in New York, and I'd hear like the Allman Brothers, Black Sabbath, stuff like that. And I used to go there quite a bit. And I heard of Lynyrd Skynyrd, but I never saw him in concert or anything like that. So I wasn't real familiar with it. And when I got to know him, you know, it was just like they were like anybody else to me. I mean, you know, I didn't realize how famous they were at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anybody that's
Now,
not familiar with Alan's house, that's the Alan's house and my green screen behind me now.
Yeah, we used to go through the garage. Yeah, and go through the garage and go in that side door into his den. Yeah, I know that house well.
Oh, there's the garage open. There's the old Mercedes in the garage, the 53 Cabriolet Mercedes.
Yeah, he had bought her that
There's
Mercedes
Allison.
station wagon.
There's Allison in the back in the
Yeah.
front yard. Kathy Godsey took all these pictures she sent to me.
Did you really?
yeah, that car, that's the day that we got there when we actually I took that, I think when we were leaving. I was standing by Jean's car and little Allison was just staring at me and I was just taking pictures. She's probably like, what are you doing? But so
Wow.
yeah, going back to the day that I went there, that's what I told you on the phone that, you know, I met Gene, he took us to his house. He called Alan, got him on the phone, and he said, you know, you remember that girl I was telling you about from New Jersey? And he put me on the phone with him, and I don't remember what I said. And then a little bit later, he took us to his house. When we drove up to his house, Gene said he's not home. So we turned around, drove back down Julington Creek Road, and then all of a sudden that burgundy Tornado just went flying
Yeah.
by. And I saw his hair, and I was like, there he goes, turn around. And
Yeah.
he turned around, we went back, and then he was home. I think he had picked Amy up from dancing lessons, I think. So we walked right in through that driveway into the den, and he was standing right there, no shoes. And I think he shook my hand, and, you know, we just went in and we sat there, and you were there, and you just were just hanging out. And I was like, wow, you know, and I remember just going up to him. And actually, I have with me a photo album that I looked at, Barbara, when I was sitting in that chair. This is a photo album that Al looked at. And I had all these little, it was kind of
Wow.
cheap. Yeah, I had all these little articles. This is actually the letter that Lynyrd Skynyrd wrote me when I wrote to him, and he gave me the address of Gene. And you know, it was
Yeah.
it's like a little scrapbook of pictures and articles. And you know, his fingerprints are still on here, so I try not to touch it too much. But
Right.
and then
How do I got
what?
this thing in the middle of the screen that says this meeting is being recorded. It's a big white box and I cannot see your head. How do
Oh,
and it says, I'm trying to, there. Okay, I got it. Now I can see.
okay. So while I
Yeah,
was
I told you
there,
I'm no good at this computer
that's the
business.
burgundy Tornado there behind
yeah,
the old Mercedes Cabriolet, and that the picture here, that's the picture. That must have been a picture you took before he got home.
Yeah.
I didn't take that picture. That's not my
No,
picture. The pictures I took are of the garage open.
that
I didn't take that one.
you sent me that picture.
How many pictures did you take when you were out there?
That's a
I took
picture
the
you took me. You
three.
sent
I
me.
took the three of him, and let me say.
One of him sitting in that old chair of his.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. You know what? I don't. You're right. I don't.
You must have taken that picture and saying, "Oh, that's Alan's house." And then
Right.
when they flew by in the
Yeah.
tornado here, right there's the tornado, and they opened the door,
Yeah.
and there's the Mercedes in the tornado.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't remember that one, but yeah, I took the group picture. I took two other pictures of Alan, and then I took the ones outside of little Allison, and then two others. That was it. But you know, my biggest regret is not having jumped into that group picture. I
Sure.
should have been in
Yeah.
that picture. Boy, that would have been a nice memory. But Barbara, this is the picture that Alan signed that was inside the photo album. He signed this picture.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And you know what?
I
I
know
want to
that
show everybody.
picture.
Yeah, what happened was the picture got so old and faded that I had it restored back in December. I brought it to one of those the camera places and they restored it
Oh,
for me.
wow.
Yeah. So this is the restored, but the original one is still, I keep it in my safe in a like a bag and all that, but this is the original picture he signed. So,
Oh, that's nice.
this will never be sold. No way. Nothing that I have from him will ever be sold. So yeah, that was a great day. And I was asking you the other day, was that typical of people to come in like that? Because here I am, this strange girl from New Jersey.
Not
You know,
really, not, I mean, he always had a lot of people, it seemed like in and out, but usually there were people in the band or family or his friends, I never really saw fans come in there,
Mhm.
So I'm not saying they did, not when I was there anyway,
No, it
but
didn't
he was
happen.
always really sweet to everybody. He was so nice. I miss him. I really do miss him a lot. I miss his wife a lot. Kathy was good. She was a nice lady. And I remember that shirt, that Rated X shirt. Remember that. And those red jeans. I was like, why would you get red jeans? They drove
Alan
me.
loved red. He
Yeah,
loved
he
red. He
did.
had that red hat. He had those red
Yeah,
shirts, red jeans, and white white. He loved white pants and red pants. Yeah,
yeah,
and the
Yeah.
combination of the two.
right.
So you were telling me about, I had mentioned how there was a big shindig last couple of months ago at Whitey's. When was that, Craig? What month was that big thing at Whitey's?
Oh my gosh.
February, March?
Yeah, somewhere back there.
That was right after Gary's
Gary's
funeral.
funeral.
Yeah,
Yeah, April.
February, I think. So
April.
I mentioned it to Barbara, and she said Alan used to go. They used to go there all the time, right? You went with Alan?
Yeah, we used to go on his boat. Like in his backyard was the pool, and then they built a studio, but behind all that was like the river, and his boat was back there. And we used to get on his boat and go to Whitey's fish camp, pull up at the dock. That was the first time I ever ate gator tail. There's like, try this gator tail. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that, but it was good. Yeah, and he used to drive. Yeah, I remember on one of these podcasts, somebody was talking about they'd never get in a boat with him, because the way he yanked the steering wheel and put his
Yeah.
foot on the gas and stuff like that. He was like that in the boat too. Wild. It was a wild ride, I'll tell you. Well,
Craig likes gator tails too, right, Craig?
Gator tail's a little tough. I
if
had
you
gator
beat
tail
them
out.
and cube them, that's when they're really good.
I had
Like
gator tail out
cubed.
there at that restaurant down in Canton. We went down there. Edie's Fish Can House down in Canton. Yeah, that's where I had some gator tail there too. But
Craig
that,
tried to get me to eat them. I said no.
Best way that I ever ate gator was when they cube them like cube steak, and fry them. They're really good like that.
that's what I had down there. That's what Edie's had. They cubed them and fried them. It was a little tough. I don't know. A
Yeah.
little
I guess you
chewy.
have to have a taste for it.
Yeah, a little chewy. I don't know. What's not my favorite?
So you also said you went with him to he liked to go to those steakhouses too, right?
Yeah, well, Craig said the name of it was Shogun, which it probably was because I couldn't remember the name of it, and I
Yeah, it
remember
was on
one,
Bland. It was on Blanding. Yeah, Shogun.
yeah, yeah. And where they cooked in front of you, and he used to drink that sake. And I remember one night we were there and he was drinking sake. And I mean, he was drinking shot after shot. And all of a sudden he just went boop right into his plate. And we kind of had to help. He did. And we had to help him out of the restaurant that night. It's funny. Because you did a lot of babysitting sometimes, you know what I mean? Yeah, he was a sweetheart though, such a doll. A good friend.
Yeah. Tell us about, you told me about the Ernie and Bert cookie jar that he had in his
Oh
house.
yeah. Well, when I first went to his house, he had this Ernie, or Kathy had it. It was a cookie jar, like Ernie from Sesame Street. I'm like, I got the same cookie jar. She goes, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And one day he bought a car and he called me up and he goes, I got this car. I can't remember what kind of car, but I remember it was an expensive car. And when you beeped the horn, it had this like melody or something. And so he came over and we were riding around in his car, went back to my house, and he had like a few $100s. It was right about when school started. It was like the change because I think he paid cash for the car. I'm not sure, but I think he did. And he kept trying to give it to me. And I'm like, no, no, no. I didn't feel right about it. And so he went home and he called me up and he goes, go look in Ernie. And I lifted the top off of Ernie and the money was in there. He goes, for the kids' school clothes.
Oh,
So, he was really sweet. He was.
very
He'd do
generous.
things. Yeah, he'd never let you pay for dinner or anything like that. You know, if you went to the store with them and you wanted to go get cigarettes, he'd get them for you. You know, very generous, very nice. I never saw him angry. The only time he would, like, if somebody was, I was at his house or somebody was at his house and he didn't want anybody to come over, he had an intercom and he'd like shoot a BB gun. Do you remember that? You remember
Yeah.
when he did that?
Or
He'd
a
go
30-30
ping.
rifle.
Yeah, I remember that. That was funny. Shoot right out the garage. Yeah, they used to ping off the fence.
And
So,
that would scare the person away.
yeah, they wouldn't come. You wouldn't come up there then. Yeah.
Who
Yeah,
is
somebody
usually
asked me the other day if I ever seen Alan actually mad, and I said no, but I've seen him frustrated. And they said, well, "What do you
Yeah.
mean?"
Yeah. I never really remember him being angry.
No,
You know, I can't even recall. But if he went,
aggravated. I've seen him
yeah, maybe aggravated, but
frustrated. Yeah.
well, what kind of things would aggravate him? I mean,
I think
at
people,
home.
some people,
Yeah, yeah.
people that would cling on, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I just treated him normal. Like he's everybody else. I mean, because that's what he was to me. I mean, I didn't look at him like I'm meeting Mick Jagger or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
see him like that.
right,
Because he didn't act like that. I mean, he'd
right.
go around in sloppy clothes, just like everybody else, like we did.
Mhm.
I mean, I never went out to his house dressed up or anything like that, just t-shirts, regular, you know.
That's kind of the way all of them were. That's why people ask
Yeah,
me how were they like, and I went, I met them. When I met them, I didn't think of them. I didn't know who they were. I didn't know Lynyrd Skynyrd. They were just a bar band as far as I knew. And then they asked me to go to some shows. I went, wow, these guys are really good. And then they
yeah,
asked me to go with them. I went, yeah, sure. I ain't got nothing else to do. I figured it'd last a few months, but turned into a lifelong career. But they were they were just Gary and Alan and Leon and Billy and Ronnie and and Artemis. They were just people, and
yeah,
that's the way I never looked at them like rock stars, like
yeah.
everybody
Me neither. I never
else
did
did.
either.
And they didn't
Mhm.
want you to, that's
Yeah, I think that would turn them off actually if you were
yeah.
like that. I
Yeah, don't
remember
ask
one
me no
time.
questions. I won't tell you no lies. Don't ask me about my business. I won't tell you goodbye.
I remember this is a pretty cool story. I can't remember what concert it was, but the Allman Brothers were playing. I think they were opening up for Skinner, if I'm correct. They must have been because I love Greg Allman. Just, you know, adored him. And Alan came up to me, he goes, Beulah, come here, I got a surprise for you. And I was like, what? And as the Allman Brothers were playing on stage, you know, and Greg was always to the left of the stage, he put a bench behind him. And I mean, Alan and I sat there, and Greg Allman, I could have touched him. And that was awesome. That was a lot of fun. And going backstage with him was fun too, you know, and being able to sit on the side of the stage. That was fun.
Did you
Yeah.
attend those big shows, like any of those big shows? Were you on the side of the stage?
I remember
Or
one time they played down at the beach. There was a couple of different times. I can't remember exactly which ones. I remember the one in Mayport because right before we had a hotel room, we had a couple of hotel rooms, and I slipped in the shower and I cut my face and I could not get it to quit bleeding. And finally got it to quit bleeding. I was sitting on the side of the stage and it started bleeding. And Alan he was playing and he was looking at me like going like trying to show me that my face, because I didn't realize it. And the blood was like dripping down my face. And I remember that concert. That was one I was sitting there. It was fun. And you know, I'd get in with his wife, you know, before she passed away. We'd sit together out front, you know, close. It was, you know, good.
did you ever have to have the passes, or did you just go in? Because
Yeah,
usually
you'd
anybody.
have passes. Yeah,
Okay,
you
yeah.
would. Yeah.
So Craig, you created all the passes, or did somebody else do that? The backstage passes.
Probably during that era, probably I did. Yeah, I imagine.
Okay. All right. But you don't remember seeing each other at the concerts? You don't remember seeing Craig, Barbara, or
I
vice
remember
versa?
seeing him. Yeah, I remember him.
Okay.
I didn't recognize him on his podcast when I first saw him because, you know, we're talking what, 40 years ago or whatever? I don't know how
I
many years
was
we're talking.
I was real good friends with her husband because they
And I
lived.
remember he used to hang out with Gary a lot.
Yeah, I used to hang out with
Yeah.
Gary, and then you lived real close to where Raymond lived. Raymond was
Yeah.
38 Specials drum roadie, and yeah, Raymond and I were really close friends, and
Yeah. He lived right across the street from me,
right
Caddy
across the
Corner.
street.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, and your husband Tal, him and Alan were really close. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Barbara, looking at the photograph, you see Jean's daughters and your son and Allison. Did those kids play together? Did your son get to know Allison and Amy?
When they were little, yeah.
Right, right. Do they still keep in touch? I mean, when did that? Well,
I
obviously,
haven't seen
Amy's
those
moved away.
kids in years.
Yeah,
I haven't seen them in years. I hope they're doing well. I mean, I never even knew what happened to them, you know, until you told me that Amy moved up north.
right. Well, I know that Craig's son Chad kept in touch with Amy for a while, and apparently he's having difficulty reaching her because I guess she just wants to stay out of. She doesn't want to be involved in anything
Yeah,
anymore. But
she's got a family, she's got
yeah.
kids. She just
Yeah.
doesn't care to touch on that era of her life anymore.
Mhm. And then Mike Caruso was a good friend of Alan's also, and he's very close with Alan's sister Betty Collins Keene. And Betty keeps in touch or takes care of Allison. Allison is in like a residential facility, but
Yeah.
she's very close to her and very protective over her. So
Yeah.
she's in Jacksonville. I'm going to reach out and see if I can get
Yeah,
that
I'd
information.
love to be able to go see Allison. I really would. I haven't seen her in years and years and years, but she was a sweetheart,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Babysat for
I'd
them a
love to.
couple of
I'd love
times
to.
too.
I'd love to talk to Allison too. Yeah.
Yeah, she was a little doll, just a little doll. She was so sweet, so cute. Yeah.
Yeah, you sent me a couple of pictures with your dog. I guess at your house, right? Dale was in the picture and your son
Yeah.
and one of a
Yeah.
little Allison. They're so cute. She seemed to
Yeah.
look very much like her father. I mean, you can see in that picture there, she has Alan's face. She just looks just like him, you
Yeah.
know, his eyes. So when you were hanging around with him at home, like in that picture, what did you guys do? Like, did he ever play the guitar for you? Or do you
Yeah.
do were you he did?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Did he play some of the famous songs, or did he just kind of play around? Like, what was
Yeah,
that
just
like?
messing around, just messing around. We spent a lot of time in that den, and he's always sitting in there. Remember that old chair,
Oh
Greg?
God, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
didn't sit in it. That was his chair, and it was an old dilapidated
Old
chair,
chair.
and he's sitting in
Reminded
it,
me
and
of
he's like,
Archie Bunker. You know, he had
yeah,
money to buy a
yeah,
brand new chair, and he
exactly.
had this old chair,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
You could
He
see the
gave
big old
one of
speaker.
my brother-in-laws one of his guitars. It was I guess one of those. I guess when they people that endorse them give them free guitars or whatever, and he got some guild guitar or something. I
Uh-huh.
asked my brother-in-law what it was. I don't know nothing about him, but he still has the guitar.
Yeah, I got him.
Goes, well,
I
there's
got him a guild endorsement and got him a few guitars.
yeah, that's what it
Yeah,
was, a
as a-
79X or something,
yeah, yeah, I got
something
him
like
a
that.
few. Yeah, he had an endorsement. Actually, Guild was going to do a Alan Collins signature guitar, and it never happened. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he gave one of them to my brother-in-law. He still has it. It's like his prized possession.
So he had some record albums on the floor. Did he listen to other bands? Like, what else did he listen to besides, you
I
know?
don't really
uh,
remember that. I don't know. We used to just hang out and barbecue and stuff like that, go in the pool. Him, not so much. Me and the kids and his wife. But mainly just sit around, watch TV, whatever. I mean, just like anybody else, in their house.
Now, did you
And then
drive?
he'd go, let's go to Shogun, which I didn't remember the name of the restaurant, or let's go here, or let's go here. And it'd be spur of the moment, we'd all jump in, boom, gone. Like that. There was never a dull moment. We're always going somewhere, going to the movies, doing something, driving around.
So what was it like being a passenger with Alan behind the wheel?
Yeah, he drove fast, I'll tell you that. You know, he drove fast, but I drove him a lot too, like I'd rather
He
drive
didn't
than he
have a
drive.
driver's license most of the
Yeah,
time,
yeah, he
so
he didn't.
he didn't drive a lot.
He'd always put his foot on the gas when I was driving, reaching, because he had them long legs, and he'd reach over and do like that. People say he used to grab the steering wheel. I don't remember him doing that, but I remember him putting his foot on the gas a lot. I mean,
A
to the
lot,
floor. Did that a lot.
Even with the kids in the car, he did that?
Not really. No, he
Oh.
was real protective of his kids.
Mhm.
He loved his kids. No, with us he did. He's a little
Oh,
bit reckless at times, but he was Alan. We
yeah.
loved him.
Now, did you ever meet Alan's sister, Betty?
No, I never did. I knew his mom, Eva.
Yeah,
Eva.
yeah.
I knew his mom. I met his dad a couple of times. I knew his mom pretty well. I never did meet his sister. I never met any of Gary's family, but Kathy's family, Alan's wife, I met her mother before she passed away. Her sister, her niece, and Alan knew my brother. He met my brother. He met my parents, met my brother-in-laws, you know. I remember him talking to my dad for quite a while. One time, my dad was asking about what it was like, you know, being up on stage and stuff like that. My dad was fascinated,
Oh.
you know.
How
He
did
was like
Alan
part of the family.
how did Alan meet your family? Did they come down to Jacksonville?
Yeah. Well, my
Okay.
parents eventually moved to Florida. Alan used to go to my house on the west side all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, he lived in Julington Creek. We lived on the west side. It was probably about 40 minutes away. And
Yeah.
he'd come to our house, we'd go to his house. And when I'm talking about him, I'm talking about his wife also. And,
Mhm.
after she passed away, that was really sad. We still were good friends. So,
Barbara, you mentioned that day that Kathy passed away, you said you had planned to go to the movies that day or
yeah,
something?
well, she was pregnant and she was on bed rest at her mother's house. And the guys were out on tour somewhere. I want to say California, but I'm not sure. And we were all going to go to the movies that night. And for some reason, I didn't go. And then in the middle of the night, probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, Martha called me up, which was Gary's wife, and told me that she passed away in the movie theater. And it was devastating,
Oh my God.
devastating. All I kept thinking about was those kids. And he came home immediately, of course.
Mhm.
That was sad time. It was. He went through a lot. He really did. Because that was I believe she passed away in 1980. That was
Mhm.
like 3 years after the crash. So, that's kind of close together.
Yeah. And you stayed close with him after while he was mourning his wife, right?
Oh,
You were there
yeah.
for him? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. He told us, don't cry at our funeral. He told us all specific, do not cry. And that was hard. Because I think if we would have cried, he would have broke down. And he was trying to stay strong for his kids. His kids were little then. And so we did. But
You had
after
said
that,
that, I'm
he
sorry.
was you could tell there was a difference. He was sadder, of course.
Yeah. You had said that they had made a pact. Tell me about what
Yeah.
Kathy and
Well,
Alan had.
Kathy had told me that if anything ever happened to her, never get married again. And he told me that, and he never did. He never did get married again. Yeah, she told me that. And I asked her one time, I said, how do you deal with them being on the road with all these groupies? And she said, and I'll never forget this, she said, Barb or Beulah, they always come home to me. He always comes home to me. And I thought that was, realistic. Because if you think about it, all the girls that, swamp them guys, it's crazy. And if you were married to him, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I asked her that, and that's what she said.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, you had said that after Alan had his car accident that you had difficulty going to see them at the hospital, right?
Yeah, at first they had a guard outside his room for a while because I went up there. Well, I went up there that night because I saw him. I saw him earlier that day. In fact, he was at my house earlier that day, the day of the wreck. And I didn't learn about it until the news that night. It was on the news. And I went up there and we couldn't get near him, you know, just for whatever reason, you know, who was driving, who wasn't driving, which doesn't matter at this point. He had a guard outside the room, maybe because he was a famous person or whatever reason, but I couldn't see him for a while. And then eventually I got in there and he goes, "Where the F have you been?" And I was like, I couldn't get up here, you know. I mean, we were close. We really were, you know, strictly platonic friends, you know. And that's actually possible. And it was.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we just got along. I don't know, for whatever reason, we just got along great together.
And just think if you hadn't gone to the Virgin Islands, you said you went to the Virgin Islands, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And you met your husband. If you hadn't gone to the Virgin Islands, your life would have been so different.
You know,
You know,
actually, he went down there. Alan went down there with my husband at the time. Went down to, I didn't go. I don't know why I didn't go, but I didn't. But he went down there and stayed for a little while. I went to a place called Caneel Bay. Yep. He liked it down there, but I think Alan, all the travels and everything, he liked to be home. You know what I mean? He was always out on the road. He liked going home. You know what I mean?
so when they went on tour as Rossington Collins Band, did you go to see any of those performances?
Yeah, I did. Well, Dale, she lived across the street from me. Um, when they got her to be the lead singer, I remember the first she was going out on tour or something, and she asked me if I would go with her shopping to get some clothes because they gave her some money to get clothes because she didn't have money at that time, you know. And I remember going to the body shop with her at Roosevelt Mall, and one of the shirts we picked out is on the album cover. And she
Really?
actually bought me a shirt too there at the body shop, which was kind of neat because none of us had no money back then, you know. But yeah, I hadn't seen Dale in years, actually. She was my neighbor. She was in that picture I gave you or sent
Yeah,
you.
I see a picture of her sitting at your kitchen table
Yeah.
and just, hanging out
Now,
during a
yeah.
birthday party. Craig, do you
Yeah.
have that one available?
I
Yeah, she
don't
sent
know.
me.
I don't have that one. I didn't.
Okay. So what was that like hanging out with Dale? I mean,
She is just a regular. She was nice. You know, I don't hadn't seen her in years and years and years because I don't know whatever happened with Alan Gary, but something happened. They had a falling out, whatever. I don't know what it was about. But then Gary was just gone. He had got divorced from Martha. And Martha was a great girl too. She was really sweet. I loved Martha. We were really close also. And I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden Gary just kind of disappeared. And I never saw him after that. I think Alan and him got into it about something I don't really know. I never asked.
well, Craig knows because he was there, right, Craig? What happened, Craig?
I don't know what what period you're talking about. After he divorced Martha, he didn't disappear during that kind of period. I don't think.
Yeah, no, it was after that.
Yeah, yeah,
It was after that.
yeah. About
Yeah, that.
83-ish. Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. So, did you ever keep in touch with Martha after she
Yeah,
moved
for a
away?
while. Then we eventually lost touch with each other. I don't know whatever would have happened with Martha. Last time I saw her, she came to my house and she had a baby, and that was nice. And that was, I think, the last time I saw her
Mm.
because I moved, she moved. And back then we didn't have cell phones, or I didn't anyway. I don't have one now, actually, which I need to get one. It got thrown in the toilet by one of my grandkids. So uh,
They need to get you a new cell phone.
yeah.
It's a necessity
Then they'll
now.
have to show me how to use it, right? Gosh.
Well,
It's
there's a
crazy. I always ask, even the little ones know more than I do. They walk around, 3 years old, watching videos and stuff. I don't. I could ask a 3-year-old, how do you do this? And they'd know.
So what do you do? So tell the viewers who haven't obviously just learning about you now. So you have a lot of children and grandbabies, and you live down near the Hell House site, right?
Yeah,
Green
I
Cove
live in
Springs.
Green Cove. Yeah, you can't bear. I don't even think you can get to that property. I think you got to go by water. There's a big bunch of houses, I don't know if it's gated or not. When I pass there, I don't even think there's an entrance to get in there anymore. I don't know.
Yeah,
I went there
you can get
years
back there.
ago.
It's
Tricky.
it's complicated to find your way back there, because I
Yeah,
had a hard time getting back there. But yeah, you can get in there. It's a little difficult
kind
to
of tricky. Yeah.
find where
I
the
know
hell.
how to get to it by water, though.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. It's complicated to find it by driving in the front.
So Barbara, as a resident of that town, what's been going on? I mean, didn't you say that your daughter said that somebody purchased the Hell House lands and wanted to preserve it?
I heard there was a man that bought it and was going to preserve it. And then he passed away, and I don't know what happened, but they put some kind of sign there that I've heard got stolen. I'm not really sure about what all happened down there. I don't know, Craig, have you heard?
No, I was just there not long ago, and the sign and everything was there. We went in by water, and then we went in by in the front entrance as well, and went up and went in, and yeah, I saw the sign there, but yeah, there was a lot of controversy. A lot of the residents were kind of irritated about all the people going, trying to find it back there, and stuff. It was.
Yeah, I heard that
They have
sign
a
got
lot of roads
taken
back
down.
there that are named kind of after Leonard Skinner, and
Yeah.
it's like they have a train back there, and it's like train roll on, and Tuesday's gone, or right there where train roll on and Tuesday's gone. It's like the Hell House is just about 100 yards down from there.
Well, we're so glad to have you on. Is there anything else that you want to
Appreciate it.
talk about or anything you want to
Nothing
share
I
or any?
can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a lot more, but I just can't think about it right off the top of my head. I appreciate you having me on.
I'm so glad to have reconnected with you. Look at what Facebook does. And I was just saying in the last podcast, if I ever get a chance to go to Jacksonville, I'm going to look you up. I'm going to look Jean up, and I want to meet Griff. I haven't meet Griff. I haven't
Say
met
hello to
Griff.
Sarah because she's the one that found that picture.
Oh, I know. Sarah's one. That's my
I,
mom. Come
I
on,
Yeah,
Sarah. There she is.
that's my
Hi,
daughter, Sarah.
Sarah.
That's Craig.
Hi, Sarah.
She's the one that started everything with the picture.
Yeah.
She found the picture.
You have a
To
beautiful
meet you.
family.
Huh?
I'm gonna be friending you on Facebook, Sarah, or you friend me because I want to see all the pictures of your beautiful family.
Yes,
Look at your
ma'am.
mom. Your mom is getting famous now, but she's getting all these friend requests
Oh
on Facebook.
gosh.
And
Oh
Barbara, you're
man.
For
always welcome to come back.
joining the group. I joined the group
Here, sit.
remembering Lynyrd Skynyrd. And
Sit.
I had been on the group for a while, and then I had seen the picture of my mom and my brother, and I went to the comment section and was looking at the comment section, and they were saying, "Who's the blonde lady?" I was like, "Hey, that's my mom."
Then she
remember
showed me,
that.
and I remember
Yeah.
that picture. And I said, I remember that girl too, which was you, Kathy.
I was so dorky. I had braces on my teeth, man. I was 18. I wanted to get those braces taken off just because I knew I was going to meet Alan Collins.
You were
I said to
determined
my
to meet him.
orthodontist, take them off for this 1 week. I just looked
People
so
are people are always asking me what each individual
Get down so you
person
can get
in
the
Lynyrd
picture.
Skynyrd was like. So
Yeah.
it's nice to have people, first Kathy GODSEY came on and gave us a little insight of her input into when she met Alan. And then it's always nice to have somebody on that was actually good friends with Alan and have them kind of give a little peek into the way they looked at Alan's life, because everybody's got a little different opinion and outlook of the way somebody was, from
Yeah.
the way they knew him. So it's nice to have people from other, from other walks of life, and from just normal people that Alan knew, just share their little experience with him, and it kind of opens up the little skin formation that everybody wants to know on the Stone Roadie show.
But Barbara, we'd love to have you on anytime. You just call me if you say, hey, want to come, you have other stories or any pictures.
All right.
You send me the pictures, I can send them to Craig. He can put them on the green screen. But I'm just so happy to have met you, and we'd love to have you back. And I know that the comments are going to be going crazy after Craig airs this. I guess it'll be
Thank
Saturday,
you.
right, Craig? The Saturday night
Yeah,
special.
this is actually a Tuesday taping, and tomorrow's Wednesday, and actually Griff and I will actually be doing podcast 85 tomorrow, but then this is podcast
Congratulations.
86, but this is actually will air on Saturday, next Saturday. So yeah. So it's a little flip flop here, but yeah, we were going to have you on last week, and you had a little something you had to
It don't
do
work.
on Saturday at work. Yeah, so we had to get you on Tuesday for a Saturday show, but whatever
Appreciate it.
works.
And you know what? Craig put it on. He mentioned you on the last podcast with Griff. He said, we're going to have Barbara Buell on. And then I said, she's not available today. but everybody was saying, I can't wait. I can't wait to see her. We can't wait to see her. So, this is going to blow up after this visit, whatever. But thank you so much, Barbara. I feel like
Thank you. I
feel like we're old
appreciate it.
friends. I just feel that there's this connection, and I'm going to get there. And if you ever come up to New Jersey, hey, you have family up here, come out here. Well, I'm going to the beach
Yeah.
Saturday. It's
Thank
my
y'all so much.
first beach day.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's funny. You used to live on, didn't you say you used to live on Spook Rock Road?
yes, I lived in
My
Montebello.
grandparents
Yeah.
owned a house on Spook Rock Road. I used to go up there when I was a child.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's Suffern. I lived right near Suffern.
Yeah,
That's
Suffern,
Wesley Hill,
yeah.
Suffern. Yeah, I lived in Suffern. Oh my gosh. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Give me the address of it and I'll drive by and take
I
a
don't
picture
know
of
if
it.
I could. My parents are both deceased, and I don't even know if I could get the address. But he
Yeah,
built a
yeah.
house on that, and that's the actual Spook Rock.
Yeah, the actual rock. They say if you park your car there at nighttime in front of it, your car will roll backwards. There's something weird. They
Wow.
say it's haunted. Yeah, we've done it. We
Yeah.
scared the crap out of ourselves, but yeah. Oh, that's so cool. My goodness, because that's exactly where I lived. I lived a couple of blocks from
Yeah, I
there.
used to go in that old rundown one-room schoolhouse.
Oh,
Remember
I don't
that? All right,
no,
let's
I don't
see.
remember.
Yeah, there
Oh,
was an old schoolhouse on that road.
okay. There was
I
one
used
on
to,
Brick Church Road. There's an old schoolhouse.
yeah,
Yeah, but that's interesting. Wow. Look at that small world.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
sure is.
But if you ever head up to New Jersey or New York, let me know because I'll meet up with you guys. I would love
All
that.
right, if you ever come down,
I will. I
yeah,
will. Definitely.
we'll
Definitely
go
not in
hang
the
out in St.
summertime.
Augustine. St. Augustine's a fun place. town
Yeah,
next
not
to
in the
me.
summertime, but maybe in the
Yeah.
fall or something. Because it's hot. It's hot here right now. Yeah, we're having a heat wave.
It's horrible here.
Yeah,
Horrible.
yeah.
Well, it's
So
good seeing you guys.
same to you, Barbara. You look wonderful.
you,
I'm so glad
Craig.
to see your beautiful
All
face
righty
again.
then. So,
I
are
appreciate
we
it.
ready?
Yeah.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep token until then. And may the good Lord take a liking to you. And this will be podcast 86 and cut.